What? I just got the notification.
Huh?
I just got the notification.
No.
You said, was it running? You said, was it running?
Get the best price, everybody else is taking this.
Hey.
Now, maybe that
Not this Thursday. It's not. I don't think
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين اللهم انفعنا بما علمتنا وعلمنا ما ينفعنا اللهم زدنا علما إنك أنت عليم الحكيم اللهم اجعل هذه كلمة حجة لنا لا حجة علينا يا رب العالمين أما بعد. Today, inshallah ta'ala, as our brother Abu Sajid, may Allah preserve him, he mentioned that this is not a session in which we would like to spend the time wasting people's time and talking about people. However, sometimes it's necessary to mention people's names for a particular benefit. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from being of those who try to belittle our brothers. But at the end of the day, sometimes we need clarification. People need to understand what's going on. As Abu Sajid mentioned, this is not something that we busy ourselves with. Just like he mentioned earlier, had it not affected people that we know inside of our community here, we would never have addressed any of this stuff because we don't pay attention to it. It may be hard for many of you to believe that, but we really don't. We don't follow brothers. We don't look on their Twitter pages. We don't look at their classes. We don't know anything about what they're doing. We don't pay attention. And so when people bring us information, we ignore it most of the time. 98.9% of the time we ignore it. But this time, this go around, it came, people were hurting. People that we know personally, families are hurting. And for that reason, this is why we decided to put this lecture together to address some relevant issues that are dealing with the community that needs to be addressed. So before we get started, the first thing we want to mention, a statement, Kalam of Ibn Jama'ah. Ibn Jama'ah is from the scholars of the past. He died the year 733 Hijri. He has a book. The book is called Tazkiratu Sami' wal Mutakallim fi Adab al-Alam wal Muta'allim. And this book is called Reminding the Listener and the one that is speaking about the etiquettes of the one that teaches and the one that is learning. He mentioned some profound things about people and about learning. He wrote some nice statements. He said, Al-Haris ala ma yanfa'uk, that a person should be eager to busy themselves with things that will benefit them. Things that will benefit them. And then he said, علما أن قيمة الإنسان ما يحسنه. He said, understand that the value of a person is what he's good at doing. In other words, if a person makes money from a particular job based on skills that he has. So he says, علما أن قيمة الإنسان ما يحسنه, that the value of a person, generally speaking, is what he is good at. وأن الشرف المرء علمه, and that the honor of a person is based on the knowledge that he has. The honor of an individual is usually based on the knowledge that he has. And he says, وَإِنَّ الْمِرَاءَةَ عَقْلِهِ أَدَبُهُ. And if you want to know about a person's intellect, look how they conduct themselves. If you want to know about a person's intellect, how they think, watch their actions and look how they conduct and portray themselves. And so we have a statement from Hasan al-Basri rahimahullah ta'ala. He said, كان الرجل يطلب العلم فلا يلبث أن يرى ذلك في تخشعه وهديه ولسانه وبصره ويده. Imam Hasan al-Basri rahimahullah, he said that a man will seek knowledge. And when a man would seek knowledge, it didn't take long for a person to see the signs of that knowledge in his submission to Allah, in his guidance, in his tongue, in his vision, and in his hands. This is what I wanted to start with, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless all of these brothers that are involved in this fitnah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless every last one of us to go study Islam. Every last one of us. Some of us, we graduated from the universities, and some of us did not graduate from the universities. Whether you went to Egypt, whether you went to Yemen, whether you went to Saudi Arabia, it doesn't matter. Most, if not all of these brothers that are involved in this, studied Islam. And also the reality is this: when every last one of us die, we're going to be judged differently than everyone else here. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put us in a position to learn His deen. What we decide to do with that information, we're going to be held accountable for it. If we use that information to gain power over individuals, we're going to have to answer for that. If we use that information to turn people against other people, we're going to have to answer for that. So, one of the ways that we intend to address this is to educate people on basic fundamentals of the minhaj of the Salaf that everyone talks about, but not many people know about. So the first thing we want to mention, قال شيخ الإسلام ابن تيمية. Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, he's from the muhaqqiqeen, min al-muhaqqiqeen, from the scholars of the past. He was able to compile many works of the ulama that came before him. He was called Shaykh al-Islam because he was a sheikh in many different sciences. He mastered many different sciences. We have ulama of hadith, but perhaps they're not ulama, or they didn't reach that level in fiqh. We have ulama fuqaha, but perhaps they didn't reach that high level in hadith. We have ulama of usul al-fiqh, but perhaps they didn't reach that in hadith. We have ulama al-lugha, of the Arabic language, but perhaps they didn't reach that in hadith, fiqh, and like this. When we look at like Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, why is he Shaykh al-Islam? Because he reached that level in many different sciences. And so he mentions, he has a book, it's called The Introduction ila Usul Tafsir. The Introduction to the Fundamental Understandings of Tafsir of the Quran. Because we know as Muslims, our primary source of knowledge is the Quran. And then the Sunnah, and then al-Ijma'. And we're going to talk about that inshallah ta'ala. So Shaykh al-Islam, he says in the introduction to his fundamentals of tafsir, he says al-ilm, or basically al-ilmu naw'an la thalitha lahuma. That knowledge is two types. There's no third type of knowledge. Knowledge is only two types as it relates to this subject that we're going to discuss. Knowledge is two types. There's no third type to it. And so Shaykh al-Islam, he says, Al-ilmu imma naqlun musaddiqun an ma'sumin. So first he says knowledge. It's either naqlun. The word naql is narrations. For example, if I say to you something, you say to that person, you say to that, this is called naql. Okay? So when a person transmits information from one person to the next person to the next person, this is called naql. So he says, al-ilm, knowledge is either transmission, al-musaddaq, truthful transmission from a source that can never be corrupt. Truthful transmission from a source that can never be corrupted. And so they said, well, what is this source that can never be corrupted? The source that can never be corrupted is the Quran, the Sunnah, and Ijma'. The Quran, the Sunnah, and Ijma'. The Quran, Sunnah, and Ijma'. Is that clear? Fine. And then he says, وَإِمَّا, or, now we're going to go into a category outside of the Quran, Sunnah, and Ijma'. We're going to put that over here. Or, he said, وَإِمَّا قَوْلٌ عَلَيْهِ دَلِيلٌ مَعْلُومٌ. He says, or, it's going to be a statement that someone makes that is a mujtahid, and it has evidence that is known. Those are the things we're going to discuss for a small moment here. So he says, إِمَّا قَوْلٌ عَلَيْهِ دَلِيلٌ مَعْلُومٌ. What is dalil ma'lum? What is dalil that is known? Dalil that is known is something that a scholar is able to extract. As the brother mentioned earlier, it's called istinbat, meaning you're going to extract the evidence from the Quran and the Sunnah. And this person that is able to do this is a mujtahid. And we're going to talk about that briefly as to what a mujtahid is. What a mujtahid is. And we're also going to talk about what taqleed is. Before we go into that, I'll ask the question, does anyone here know what taqleed is? Taqleed is blind following. Right. Does anyone know what a mujtahid is? What is a mujtahid? Does anyone know what that is? What is it? Ahsant. So a mujtahid is one who exerts all his abilities to arrive at a ruling in Islam. This is a mujtahid. Alright? A muqallid is a person that's not able to do that. He has to turn back to that mujtahid and benefit from him. That mujtahid, or that scholar, may give that person the evidence, but it's quite possible that the person that receives the evidence do not know how to do it himself. This is the proof that they use, so I'm going to use this. He doesn't have that ability. Are we clear on that? And this here is very important as we move on. It's very important. If anyone is cloudy about that, raise your hand and we'll address it right now. Nah, fuck them. Okay. A mujtahid, we're going to give you the description of a mujtahid. A mujtahid is one that is able to extract rulings themselves. These are scholars. In general, the mujtahid is a scholar. He's able to extract rulings from the Quran and the Sunnah, right? And give a verdict, right? But however, his verdict may not agree with other scholars' verdicts. He is a mujtahid. So some may agree with him, some may not agree with him. Whereas ijma', when we say Quran, Sunnah, and ijma', and this is one level of knowledge that no one can disagree with. Okay, so we have two categories here. So he said knowledge is either what? From the Quran, Sunnah, or ijma', or the knowledge comes from a mujtahid, one that looks into the text and extract rulings. Is that clear? Right. So it mentions an alim yajtahidu. So a scholar yajtahidu thumma yaqulu li qawlihi dalil. A scholar is going to look at an issue, and then he's going, from looking at that issue, he's going to come up with a verdict on that particular issue. For example, this here is haram, this is halal, this is mustahab, this is kada wa kada. All of this is based on his own what? His ijtihad. Okay? What is taqleed? Qala Ibn Abdul Barr. Ibn Abdul Barr is from the scholars that follow the school of Imam Malik. He says, أن العلماء أجمعت على أن المقلد لا يسمي عالما. That a person that is a muqallid, We're going to talk about that in detail. A person that is a muqallid, he can never be a scholar, meaning that person is not a scholar. وَإِنَّمَا الَّذِي يُسَمِّ عَالِمًا الَّذِي يَأْخُذُ وَالْقَوْ بِدَلِيلِهِ. The one that is a alim or a scholar is the one that takes the statement with the evidence, meaning they're able to find the dalil for that issue and use it and understand it. Any questions about that? All right, so now that we mentioned that, we're going to talk about something more specific, because we had to mention that in general just to get a general concept. So the word is, per Twitter and other social media avenues, that the people that found this place here were Ikhwani. We practice the methodology of the Ikhwan Muslimin according to them. Cool. Everyone can make statements and claims. This is cool. Say whatever you want. But now we're going to take those statements and we're going to weigh it on the Sharia, and we're going to look how that's done. A person gives a verdict. No, this is a ruling. These people, they gave a verdict. They're Ikhwani. They're this. They work with Sufis. They deal with the Khawaris. They do whatever they say. They have to stand on that. You have to stand on it. You said it, you own it. So now we're going to look at that. So, in order for a brother to make a statement like that without getting that from a scholar, that means you either are a muqallid or a mujtahid. Is that clear? Okay. So many of our brothers, they have placed themselves in the realm of being a mujtahid, those that are qualified to extract rulings and get rulings and verdicts in Islam. Cool. As far as I know, and any of the brothers that study with us, none of the brothers in this city have reached that level. Not one of us. Perhaps Sheikh Tahir may have reached that level. Perhaps Mufti may have reached that level. But the brothers that are here, that are talking, that are on Twitter, none of them have reached that level. None of them. Not even close, in my opinion. And I'm sure the rest of the brothers that studied with them, that know them, will say the same. Like, a mujtahid, what are the characteristics? For me to say this person's I'm giving a ruling now. This is something that I'm standing on in front of Allah. This is a religious issue. You are mubtadi'. You are an innovator. Cool. What's the rules to that? For a person to give a hukm shar'i, you're giving a legislation. There's a book from Ibn al-Qayyim. It's called I'lam al-Muwaqqi'in. This means you are signing off on Allah's statement when you give verdict in Islam. You're signing off. This is what Allah says about these people. MashaAllah. In order for you to be from those people that can make those statements, you have to have reached a certain level in your deen, in your knowledge. So we're going to discuss the conditions for one to be able to make those statements. So condition number one, and we know these people that are talking, so we're going to tell you whether we believe that they fit those conditions or not. Condition number one, يَعْلَمُ الْآيَاتَ الْأَحْكَامِ وَالْأَحَادِيثِ الْأَحْكَامِ. That you must know all of the verses in the Quran of ahkam. Sahih? Absolutely. That means you know all of the verses in the Quran that specifically deal with giving out rulings in the religion. This is one of the conditions. Of their whole group, I only know one brother that studied that. One. The next one, ahadith al-ahkam. And you must know all of the ahadith that deal with verdicts in the religion. So only one brother from among them that I know of that studied that. Move on. And ya'rif, that's the first one. And ya'rif ما يتعلق بصحة الحديث وضعفه كمعرفة الإسناد والرجال. And you also must know the correctness or the soundness of a hadith, whether it's authentic or it's weak, the chain and its men. Some of those brothers may know that. I'll give them that. We have to be fair and just. Our deen is fair. So we say yes. We may say yes. Some of those brothers, they may be skilled in that. The next one. And يعرف الناسخ والمنسوخ والمواقع الإجماع. You must also know the verses in the hadith that are abrogators, meaning this verse was revealed and then another verse came and removed that ruling. You must have knowledge of that. You also must have knowledge of the verses in the hadith that have been removed from the religion that was once from it. You have to have a knowledge of that. I don't know any of those brothers qualified in that. You also must know the places in the deen, they're called mawaqi' al-ijma'. You must know all of the places in the religion where ijma' is known by the Salaf. If you don't have that, you're not qualified. These brothers are not qualified to do that either. The fourth one. يَعْرِفُ مِنَ الْأَدِلَّةِ مَا يَخْتَلِفُ بِهِ الْحُكْمِ. You must also know all of the differences of opinion on these issues that the Salaf differ on. You must know that too. I know that these brothers are not versed in that as well. The next one. أن يعرفوا من اللغة العرب وأصول الفقه وما يتعلق بدلالات الألفاظ. And you must also know the Arabic language. The brothers have that, alhamdulillah. You must also know usul al-fiqh. I know for a fact many of them have not studied usul al-fiqh. Only one. And then the next one, يتعلق بدلالات الألفاظ. You must also know dalalat al-alfaz. When you hear ayat in the Quran and ahadith, you must know what the words mean and you must know what the words mean and the ruling that may come from using those words. This is the hardest part in usul al-fiqh. And none of those brothers are qualified in that. None of them. Not one of them. In Arabic it's called dalalat al-alfaz. What does the word indicate? What ruling do we get from these words? This is the hardest part of usul al-fiqh, and none of those brothers are qualified in that either. The sixth point. القدرة أهلية يتمكن بها الاستنباط الأحكام من أدلتها. And you must be able to look at the nusus, the text, and extract rulings from it. None of those brothers are qualified to do that either. The next one. And this is important that everyone understands this, because you all have to hold us accountable. We, the ones that get up here and teach, we have to stay in our lanes and teach what we know. Do not exceed the boundary. Do not exceed the boundary. And the last one here, ma'rifatul maqasid al-sharia. And you must know the intent behind Islamic legislation. This is called the intent. This is the science. Intent behind Islamic legislation. None of these brothers are qualified in that either. So out of 7 things I mentioned here, maybe 2 things people may be qualified in. Yet why are we giving verdicts? Who gave us a license to say these brothers are this and these brothers are that? And so we're going to find out, we're going to break down the whole methodology and how they think and how they move. The next issue. We're going to go back to ijtihad again. Ijtihad. Qad yakun fi bab wahid. Let's say, for example, you're not a mujtahid. Cool. However, you study one particular, like for example, when we were in school, Jamil Finch and I, we used to always write bahuth, research on wiping over the socks and then taking them off. I still have it on my computer. We did we might have looked at every different position on that issue. Remember those days? Every single position on that issue right there, perhaps we can talk about that. We can say, nah. I know the position on this. We know that. You may know. So that you may become, it's possible, I'm not saying I am, but it's possible that a person can be a mujtahid in one chapter of the deen, one issue of the deen. It doesn't mean you're a mujtahid in all aspects of the deen. Yes? Do you guys know what ijma is? Consensus. Ijma is a scholarly consensus. A consensus of who? So here is some different. Generally speaking, ijma is consensus of the Sahaba. This is ijma al-mundabit, one that is relied upon, the consensus of the Sahaba. And some say the tabi and atba', but there's no khilaf in the Sahaba being referred to for ijma'ats. Now, so back to what I was saying. A person can be a mujtahid in one issue without being a mujtahid in other issues. We don't know any of the brothers to be from the mujtahideen. Not one of them. Not none of us, and definitely not none of them. This is haq. This is not about talking bad about brothers. This is the truth. Everyone needs to know the truth. You need to know our realities. If we're going to sit in front of you and teach, like everyone says, everyone knows the statement of Ibn Sirin. Look to the one you take your religion from. We all agree with this statement. So anytime you put yourself in front of the people, you have to open up the book. Who are you? What did you study? Not who you sat with. We used to sit in the durus of the mashayikh. There would be hundreds of students. Some of them sleep. Some of them playing with their phones. Some of them reading a different book. Some of them just looking around just to see who's there. A student of knowledge knows better than to just ask someone, who did you sit with? You can go make umrah and sit with 30 scholars. Does that mean you learned anything? Absolutely not. So what we say is, not who you sat with, what did you study? What sciences did you cover in detail? Anywhere you study, you should be able to talk about the sciences that you covered. And we're going to talk about that too, inshallah. طيب. So what is a taqleed? We mentioned a taqleed هو قبول قول الغير بلا حجة. Taqleed is to take the statement of someone else and you don't know why they said it. This is taqleed. They might give you the dalil, but you don't even understand the dalil. You can't even understand it. لا يعد, whoever does this, لا يعد من العلماء. Whoever does this, they're not considered to be from the ulama. They're not scholars. And the job of a muqallid, the job of one who is not a scholar, is su'al ahlul ilm. That they are to ask the people of knowledge, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Ask the people of knowledge when you don't know. So, and we're going to mention names because these brothers, they mention names. We're not mentioning it in a bad sense, just facts. So we have brothers like Abu Hassan Malik, Hassan Samal. We're going to talk about them too, briefly. It was said that and people that were close to him, they said that he spent 9 months in Yemen. He studied with Sheikh Muqbil, rahimahullah. Alhamdulillah, 9 months. Any student of knowledge here that studied Islam, what did you cover in 9 months? What books and sciences did you cover in 9 months? طيب. You spent some time in Egypt. It was reported that and he can correct all this, say whether I'm telling the truth or false. I'm not trying to slander anybody, just call it what it is. You spent years in Egypt off and on, studying what and with who? From my understanding, the scholars that he studied with in Egypt, they were not people of the Sunnah, according to them now. Not according to me, I don't know who they were, but according to some of the brothers. What sciences did you cover? What sciences? Hadith, Lugha, Aqidah, Fiqh, Usul. What sciences? Mawarith. What? Iqtisad, Islamic economics. What did you study in your time? This should be something that any one of you should ask any one of us. If I get mad, if you ask me, Ali, what did you study from the day, and I get mad, then you should say, it's a problem with that. Right, the next one. Hassan Somali. When I met him in 2004, he sat in my car, and I asked him, where did you study? This is before I went overseas to study. I used to look up to these brothers. MashaAllah, what did you study? He said, I spent 2 years with Sheikh, this is what he told me. 2 years with Sheikh Yahya Hajuri, and 2 years with Sheikh Muqbil, Mumtaz. The same question to him. What sciences did you study? What sciences? Did you study Aqidah? If so, what books of Aqidah did you study with the ulama? What did you study? Not who you sat with. What sciences are you proficient with in the religion? And it was also reported that, and he can correct this or not, that he made a statement about us, saying how many books did they translate? I don't know any student of knowledge that would consider translating books to be something from knowledge. There are Orientalists that are non-Muslim that translate books. If we base translating books on knowledge, then the non-Muslims would be more knowledgeable than us. They have whole libraries of books that they translated about Islam, from Arabic to English. No scholar would consider translating books to be, alhamdulillah, brothers can translate, mashallah. That's not my field. Our field is studying the deen. Let's talk kitab sunnah. Let's talk about that. And the next one, they'll say, well, these brothers, they're speaking ill of their brothers. No. You guys have been talking about me personally since 2014 when I got off the plane. 2014, never said anything. For years, brother, you need to say something. You need to say, no, I don't care. It's not important. The Mashayikh said, go back and teach. Go back and educate the people. Don't busy yourself with that. So So now we're going to address the verdicts that we're Ikhwani. I'm Ikhwani. Saeed's Ikhwani. All these brothers are Ikhwan Muslimin. By the time we finish, we're going to figure out who really has the characteristics of Ikhwan Muslimin. So then we're going to mention some statements of Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah. فَهُوَ أَحَدُ قُضَاةَ الثَّلَاثَةِ. He mentions about, now we're going to go back to giving a verdict. Someone gives a verdict about you. Say you're a Hizbi, you're this, you're that. Whoever makes those statements, they have placed themselves in the realm of being a judge. You put yourself, because these are religious issues, and you gave a verdict in the religion, so now you made yourself a judge. Cool. And Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, he says, there's a hadith about 3 judges. قال فيهم النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم القضاة ثلاثة. The Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, he said the judges are 3 types. قاضيان في النار وقاض في الجنة. 2 of the judges in the hellfire, and 1 of them is in paradise. And the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, he said, رجل علم الحق وقضى به فهو في الجنة. A man who knows the haqq, the truth, and he rules in accordance to the truth, that person is in paradise. And then he says, وَرَجُلٌ عَلِمَ الْحَقِّ وَقَضَى بِخِلَافِهِ فَهُوَ فِي النَّارِ. And he said there is a man who knows the haqq, but he doesn't rule with the haqq. He rules with falsehood. This person is in the hellfire. And then he says, وَرَجُلٌ قَضَى لِلنَّاسِ عَلَى الْجَهْلِ فَهُوَ فِي النَّارِ. And then there are people who give verdicts with no knowledge at all. These people are in the hellfire. Nas'Allah as-salam wa afiyah. We ask Allah to pardon us and all of our brothers. So then he says, Shaykh al-Islam, he says, وَإِنْ قِيلَ فِيهِ كَيْ يَكُونُ مُجْتَهِدًا مُخْطِئٌ. So Shaykh al-Islam, he said, but what if someone says about that brother that gave that verdict, nah, he's a mujtahid, and he made a mistake. Because we know about the mujtahid that makes a mistake, he still gets a reward. Shaykh al-Islam said, فَحُكْمُهُ الَّذِي أَخْطَأَ فِيهِ وَخَالَفَ فِيهِ النَّصْ وَالْإِجْمَاعِ بَاطِلٌ بِالْإِتِّفَاقِ الْعُلَمَاءِ. He said, la. He said, as long as this person went against the Quran and the Sunnah and Ijma' without looking into it, then his position is batil. He will not get from that reward, and he will be from those people that are in the fire. My question to our brothers, when you gave rulings upon us, did you come from Quran? Did you come from Sunnah? And when you say come from Sunnah, because we're going to address that. Well, brother used a couple of hadith to prove that, we're innovators. We want to discuss that too. It goes back to what the brother said, wajh al-istidlal. How do you use the hadith? Khayr. And then we have another statement, as Shaykh al-Islam, he mentions, وَقَدْ ذَمَّ اللَّهَ قَوْ بِغَيْرِ عِلْمٍ وَنَهَى عِنْهُ فِي غَيْرِ مَوْضِعٍ مِّن كِتَابِهِ. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he frowns upon those who speak without knowledge. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, قال تعالى قل إنما حرم ربي الفواحش ما ظهر منها وما بطن والإثم والبغي بغير الحق وأن تشركوا بالله من لم ينزل به سلطانا وأن تقولوا على الله ما لا تعلمون. When we give verdicts about the religion, we are speaking on behalf of the deen, and essentially we're speaking on behalf of Allah. This is the ruling on these individuals. Allah says in the Quran that Allah has made it haram. قُلْ إِنَّمَا حَرَّمَ رَبِّي. Allah has made lewd acts haram, that which is apparent and that which is hidden, all forms of sin and transgression without right. And He has also made it haram to associate partners with Allah that you have no authority to do. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has also made it haram to speak about Allah without any knowledge. To speak about Allah without any knowledge. So now we're going to move on to the next issue. And this issue is an issue that's very old in this city. And this issue is forcing people to take positions. How many people in here was forced to take a position? I see quite a few hands. What's your position on Tahir and Shadid? If you say A, you're in. If you say B, you're out. What's your position? Before you meet a brother, first question, what's your position on Tahir and Shadid? They're off. Okay, cool, you with us. This has been going on in this, so now we're going to address that. This is batil. And we're going to prove it from the statements of the Salaf and how that works. At one point in time, Shaykh Rabi'a, may Allah preserve him, he warned against Shaykh Tahir when we were overseas. He warned against him. And then there were other scholars who did not see that warning to be valid, and so they did not go with that ruling. We were from the group of students that did not take that ruling. With all due respect to the Sheikh, we just didn't take that ruling, right? The same way, Sheikh Wasiullah Abbas is one of the ulama that we studied with for many years. He says something ill against one of the brothers in the UK. He advised brothers, don't sit with him, don't associate with him. Actually, he's talking about Abu Khadija from the UK. Fine. You never saw any of us going around asking people, what's your position on Abu Khadija? Are you with him or against him? If you're with him, then we're going to boycott him. You never saw any of us doing that. Why? Because we don't have a right Islamically to do that. It's not our place. It's not our place to judge the lay people on who you with and who you not with. Especially when we're talking about people that are not considered to be people of innovation. It's not your place as a lay person. A lay person, worship Allah, take care of your family, stay away from innovation, focus on Tawheed. That's it. That's your job. Work on your connection with Allah. So these brothers felt compelled to force all of the people in Philadelphia to take the position of Sheikh Rabi. Everyone had to take that position against Tahir and Shadid. Everyone was forced to take that position. So now we're going to read some statements of Shaykh al-Islam as it relates to these issues specifically. Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, ليس لأحد منهم أن يأخذ على أحد أهدا بموافقته على كل ما يريده وموالاة من يواليه ومعاداة من يعاديه بل من فعل هذا كان من جنس جنغيز Khan. Shaykh al-Islam, he says, it is incorrect for anyone from among them students to take a vow to always agree with a person in what he wants and pledging to always show advocacy to the one who agrees and supports them and hatred towards those who oppose them. Shaykh al-Islam, he also said, rather whoever does that, then he is from the same category as Genghis Khan and people that are similar to him. Do you understand that? If you force people to take your position, then this is for that. We have another statement. Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, he says, fellow, and this is all in his Majmu' Fatawa. Anyone says we don't believe that, we have all our sources, inshallah. For those of you that can research, we'll give you all of that, inshallah ta'ala. So he says, فَالْوَاجِبُ عَلَى كُلِّ مُؤْمِنٍ أَنْ يُحِبَّ مَا أَحَبَّ اللَّهُ وَرَسُولُهُ وَيُبْغِضُ مَا أَبْغَضَهُ اللَّهُ وَرَسُولُهُ مِمَّا دَلَّ عَلَيْهِ فِي كِتَابِهِ فَلَا يَجُوزُ لِأَحَدٍ أَنْ يَجْعَلَ أَصْلًا فِي الدِّينِ لِشَخْصٍ إلا لرسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ولا لقول إلا لكتاب الله عز وجل ومن نسب شخص كائنا من كان فوالى وعاد على موافقته القول والفقه فهو من الذين فرقوا دينه وكانوا شيعا وإذا تفقه الرجل وتأدب بطريقه قوم من المؤمنين مثل اتباع أئمة ومشايخ فليس له أن يجعل قدرته وأصحابه هم العيار فيعادي من وافقهم ويعادي من خالفهم فينبغي للإنسان يعود نفسه والتفقه الباطن في قلبه وعمل به فهذا زاجر كائن القلوب تظهر عند المحن. So here, the translation of the statement of Shaykh al-Islam, it's very important to pay attention to this. He said the obligation upon every believer is to love what Allah and His Messenger loves and to hate what Allah and His Messenger hates, for the issues that have evidence in the Quran. So it is not permissible for anyone to make a principle based on a person except for the Prophet ﷺ, nor a statement except with the Book of Allah. Whoever nominates or makes a person, whoever he may be, and bases allegiance and disassociation, his alliance or disassociation upon whoever agrees with him, and disassociation whoever who disagrees with them, as Allah says in the Quran, whoever divided and separated in their religion, they were from the different sects. They became from the different sects. And he said, rahimahullah, if an individual inquires knowledge and manners from a group of believers, such as the followers of imams or the mashayikh, then it is not correct for him to consider those whom he follows as a criteria or scale. Meaning, I don't take a scholar that I follow and make him the point that everyone must agree with the sheikh that I follow. He says, so, and associate an alliance to those who agree with him and disassociate with those who disagree with him, with his mashayikh. And you don't agree with those who agree with a sheikh you agrees with and disagree with those who disagree with a sheikh that you agree with. The individual should train himself to learn and understand the undetectable issues that are in the heart and act on them, and so that he may take heed and the secrets of the heart become apparent in the times of trials and tribulation and hardship. And you can find this in Majmu' Fatawa, Shaykh al-Islam. Again, he mentions it's not permissible for a person to make people and force people to follow a particular scholar that you follow. The next issue, we already said that a person is either a mujtahid or a muqallid, right or wrong. Did we not say that? Right. So I know the brothers are not going to say that they're mujtahidun. I don't think any one of them have the audacity to say that they're mujtahidun. If they do, alhamdulillah. You have to prove that though. You have to prove it. You have to show it. So most of them will say that they are from the muqallidun, I'm sure. If those are the two options, I'm sure they will pick that they follow the ulama, they don't give their own verdicts, etc. This is probably what they will say. If that is what they'll say, then we have something for that too. Shaykh al-Islam, Ibn Taymiyyah, rahimahullah ta'ala, he said about those people, those who are followers, what is upon the follower to do? The ones that are not scholars, the followers, what is upon them? He says, بَلْ مَنْ كَانَ مُقَلِّدًا لَزِمَ حُكْمُ التَّقْلِيدِ. Whoever is a follower, then he takes the ruling of the followers, meaning the taqlid, the muqallid. If you are a muqallid, then it is not permissible for you to do the following. فَلَمْ يُرَجِّحْ وَلَمْ يُزَيِّفْ وَلَمْ يُسَوِّبْ وَلَمْ يُخَطِّئ وَمَنْ كَانَ عِنْدَهُ مِنَ الْعِلْمِ وَالْبَيَانِ مَا يَقُولُهُ سَمِعَ ذَلِكَ مِنْهُ فَقَبَّلْ مَا تَبَيَّنَ أَنَّهُ حَقٌّ وَرَدَّ مَا تَبَيَّنَهُ بَاطِلٌ وَوَقَفَ مَنْ لَمْ يَتَبَيَّنْ فِيهِ أَحَدُ الْأَمْرَيْنِ والله تعالى قد فاوت بين الناس وقوى الأذهان كما فاوت بينهم بقوة الأبدان. Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, he said, whoever takes a position as a muqallid, which most of us are, then it is not for him, the muqallid, to refute someone for taking a position of following another scholar. What does that mean? Let's say, for example, you take the position of Shaykh Rabi' against Brother Tahir, Sheikh Tahir. You take that position, no problem. That's your right. This brother says, I'm more comfortable with the position of Sheikh Salih Suhaimi and the position of Sheikh Wasi al-Abbas and some of the other ulama. I'm going to take that position. None of us may know the issue why the Sheikh said what they said, but you're a muqallid. You don't understand the dalil, right? So now you're following one Sheikh, he's following another Sheikh. It is impermissible for you to force him to follow who you're following. Does that make sense? It is impermissible for a muqallid to force another muqallid to follow the person who he makes taqleed to. It is impermissible for one follower of a scholar to force another follower of a different scholar to follow the scholar that he's following. Is that clear? Or it's not? Like, so he says, it is not permissible for anyone to say this is the correct statement over another statement without dalil. And he doesn't have partisanship to one statement over another, or over one another person saying it is opposed to the other without dalil. Whoever is a muqallid, he takes the ruling of taqleed. Whoever is a muqallid, they take the ruling of taqleed. Thus, this person doesn't say this is the correct way or that is the correct way. And whoever has knowledge and clarification as for what he says, then he is heard. Whoever has knowledge about what they're saying, then they are heard. Whatever he says that is from the truth, then it is accepted. And whatever he says that is not from the truth, then it is rejected, batil. And whatever is not clear and whatever has not been ruled as being correct or batil, then we stop there. If we don't know the rulings, then we stop. Allah the Most High differentiated between the people in terms of their abilities. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made all of us different. Some of us, we have stronger comprehension over others in certain issues. Just like, this is what Shaykh al-Islam says, just like Allah made some of us stronger in our physical bodies than others. So everyone may not understand. But, and so the next issue, قال شيخ الإسلام ابن تيمية رحمه الله تعالى, he says, من قال بالكتاب والسنة والإجماع فهو من أهل السنة. Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, he says, whoever says what is in the Quran. Now, we have verses in the Quran that the Sahaba differ on its interpretation. Are we talking about those ayahs? Yes or no? La. They're talking about the verses that are muhkam, the ayat that have no possible difference of understanding in them. So he said, whoever says that was in the Quran, the Sunnah, and Ijma' consensus, فَهُوَ مِنْ أَهْلُ السُّنَّةِ, then this person is from Ahlul Sunnah. This is the statement of Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah. It's not my statement. And it's the statement of the Salaf in the past. This is a statement that they agreed upon. Whoever disagrees with this statement, hey hat. Who from the Salaf differ with Shaykh al-Islam on this position? None of them. None of the Salaf disagreed with Shaykh al-Islam on this. Rather, this was ijma' of the Salaf. So now, as we talk about the Salaf, now we're going to talk about the statements of the Salaf. I'm going to ask you, brothers, a question. Is the statement of, for example, Sufyan al-Thawri, is this statement a proof in the religion? Yes or no? Huh? If I say Sufyan al-Thawri did this, and this is the way of Sufyan, is this a proof in the religion? La. Right. Is the statement of a Sahaba, is it proof in the one Sahabi, is that proof in the religion? Yes or no? Right. Some of the ulama differ, like Imam al-Shafi'i and his usul. They say, Qawla Sahabi laysa bi hujjah, that the statement of a Sahabi is not proof in and of itself, unless there is ijma'. These are scientific, academic, Islamic issues that students of knowledge discuss, that the ulama discuss. So when we look at those statements, how is it then a statement of one person from the Salaf is a proof? Two people from the Salaf is a proof. Three people of the Salaf is a proof. It's not a proof. The only proof that we shall follow if it is ijma'. Meaning, if we go against ijma', then these are the people of innovation. And, well, I'm not going to say that the people have fallen into bid'ah and could potentially be from Ahlul Bid'ah. Pay attention. They have fallen into bid'ah and could potentially be from Ahlul Bid'ah. Like, Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, in his book he has called Rad ala Ikhna'iyyah. He says, إما أن يجعل من السنة الرسول وشريعته وحكمه من لم تدل عليه سنته لكون بعض السلف هو ذلك فهو لا يجوز أو فعل ذلك فهو لا يجوز. Shaykh al-Islam, he said, whoever makes something from the sunnah, makes something, we try to say, no, it's from the sunnah to do this. Or we find a statement, he says, or we say this is from the sunnah, or this is from the sharia, or this is a ruling, they give a ruling. مَنْ لَمْ تَدُلْ عَلَيْهِ السُّنَّةِ, they give a ruling, and they have no dalil from the Quran, sunnah, or ijma' to support it. But the only dalil they have is, we found some of the salaf doing it. He says, فَهَذَا لَا يَجُوز. It's not permissible. It's not permissible to take a statement, two statements, three statements from the Salaf and say this is the proof for this. No student of knowledge would do that. No student of knowledge mu'assal. And what I mean by mu'assal, a student of knowledge that studied ilm from the minor books all the way up to the larger ones. It's called ta'sil ilm. They went back to the books of the Salaf and they worked their way back up. A student of knowledge mu'assal would never say that. Like, وَإِنْ يُقَاء إِنَّ الرَّسُولُ نَدِبْ إِلَى ذَلِكَ. إِلَى ذَلِكَ لِكَرَّغْبَ فِيهِ وَجَعْلَهُ إِبَادَةً. So whoever takes a statement from the Salaf and make that statement from the Salaf a proof. If they make that statement from a proof, or they make that statement a proof, with no dalil, لَا يَكْفِي ذَلِكَ فِعْلُ بَعْضُ السَّلَفِ. He said it is not sufficient for some of the Salaf doing this. And this is another one of the glaring mistakes that our brothers make. This is a glaring mistake that our brothers make. Rather, this is a fundamental error. It's an error to take a statement from one of the Salaf, two of the Salaf, three of the Salaf, and say this is the position of Ahlul Sunnah and the Salaf. This is not correct, unless you have ijma' to say this is the position of the Salaf. Otherwise, you have people from the Salaf going back and forth with each other. Our religion has rules and regulations and thawabit. So now we're going to address the issue that also addresses when the brothers, we're going to go back to us being Ikhwani from the Ikhwan Muslimin. We're going to talk about that. He told me I got to hurry up, but I'm not hurrying up. So whoever's after me can wait, inshallah. It is what it is. النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام عن ابن عباس رضي الله تعالى عنهما أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال that the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام he said لو يعطى الناس بدعواهم لادعى الرجال أموال قوم ودماءهم ولكن البين على المدعي ويمين على من أنكر. النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام, if a person makes claims, he's the innovator, that person's the innovator, they're Ikhwan Muslimin. He said in this hadith, if a person were to be given to everything that they claim, they will start claiming the wealth and the blood of other individuals. And so he said, because of that purpose, al-bayyina ala mudda'i, that because of this, then it is upon the claimant to substantiate their claims. This hadith is from the greatest hadith in qada. In our religion, we have judges, we have verdicts. This is one of the greatest hadith in our religion when it comes to giving rulings on people, individuals, and situations. Every scholar must go back to this hadith. So now we're going to talk about a post that Brother Anwar put on Twitter about us. He says, for the seeker of the truth, another proof. What was the first one? That the origin of Imam Muslim Family Center. How does he know the origin of Imam Muslim Family Center? We were instructed to do this by ulama. It's not based upon the pure Salafi methodology. Why is it not based upon the methodology of the Salaf? Why not? And then he says it is based, he's letting everyone know, it is based upon the innovative principles of Hassan al-Banna, who's the head of the Ikhwan Muslimin. He says we cooperate, this is a statement that he's attributing to us. We cooperate upon what we agree and we excuse one another for what we disagree. This is what he said about us here. And these are statements that have been spread throughout the city. And so we're going to address that, insha'Allah ta'ala. We want to talk about that. Right. First, we're going to go back to someone sent me a lecture, and we have to talk about this. Someone sent me a lecture that Brother Abu Hassan Malik, he said in there, he said, you guys want proof? He gave two ahadith. The first one, al-mar'u ma man ahab. He said a human being, a person is with the one who he loves. Meaning for us, we go to lectures. I gave a lecture at a school, at an Islamic school. My brother Shadid invited me up there. There was other brothers there on the panel. It was for a fundraiser at an Islamic school. That if any of us had the opportunity to send our kids to Islamic schools, most people will do it. Right. So he mentions the hadith, al-mar'u ma man ahab. And then he says, al-mar'u ala deen khalilihi. He says, I'm assuming it was regarding me. Maybe he can correct and say, no, it wasn't referring to me. If he wasn't referring to me, then I apologize, it's not for him. But if it is, then we're going to address it. He says, al-mar'u ma man ahab. He said, a man is with those whom he loves. And then he said, a man is on the deen of their closest companions. Fine. The first question I have for him, as this is Islam, who do I love? You don't know me and I don't know you. How do you know who I love? How do you know who are my friends? You don't know my friends. I don't know your friends, you don't know my friends. As brothers I pray with every single day, they don't know who I love and they don't know who my friends are. So how do you know it and you're in another state? What information do you have that I don't have about myself? What can you tell me about me that I don't know? Because I go and give a lecture with a brother that invited me, that means that's my closest companion? That will not stand up in any court in Islam. A judge will look at that and throw it out. Malish. It's weak. Like, none of your accusations will hold up. In addition to that, even the hadith that you brought in the lecture, what is the wajh istidlal? You didn't even bring that. What is the wajh istidlal? How are you using this hadith and how are you making it, how are you tying it in? You didn't do that. And this is something that these brothers all do. They make general statements but don't know how to apply it. But they don't know how to use the evidence and make it applicable to an individual. They don't know how to do that. Or maybe they do, but they just didn't. Now we're going to address the statement of the Ikhwan Muslimin that they talk about. So I'm going to give you the statements of some of the scholars about it. This is a position, what I'm going to say is the position of Sheikh Al-Albani rahimahullah, Sheikh Uthaymeen rahimahullah ta'ala, and Sheikh bin Baz. This is the position, and this is what they said about this statement. The statement is as follows. تعاونوا مع بعضنا فيما اتفقنا فيه ويعذر بعضنا بعضا فيما اختلفنا عليه. We work together on what we agree on, and we leave off what we disagree on. So the ulama, they say that this statement alone is broken down into two phases. Phase number one, الشق الأول من العبارة نتعاون فيما اتفقنا عليه, that we work together in those things that we agree on. He says يراد به أن يتعاون المسلمون على النهوض بالقيام بأمور الخير الذي لا يختلفون في مشروعيتها. He said this part of the statement, with the Muslims working together in goodness, and there's no difference in upon that, this is nothing wrong with that. He says وهذا من التعاون الواجب. He said rather this is the type of working together that is obligatory. الذي فرضه الله تعالى في محكم كتابه. And this is what Allah has obligated in the verses that are what? That are muhkam. When we say Quran, Sunnah, Ijma, this verse goes back to this. This goes back to this issue. Muhkam. Muhkam ayatihi fi kitabi ala lisan rasulihi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. حيث يقول تعالى, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَتَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى وَلَا تَعَاوَنُوا عَلى الْإِثْمِ وَعُدْوَانِ. Work together in righteousness and piety, and do not work together in sin and transgression. This is what Allah says in the Quran. طيب. He says, وَلَا يَذُنْ بقائل هذه عبارة أنه يريد أن يتعاون المسلمون فيما اتفقوا عليه ولو كان باطلا. Don't understand from this that they're saying that it's permissible for the Muslims to work together in things that are batil, things that are incorrect. And then he says, and then he mentions the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, where he says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُجْمَعُ أُمَّتِي عَلَى الضَّلَالَةِ, that none of my ummah will come together and work together on falsehood. That our ummah will not come together, everyone together, and work together on falsehood. As for the second part of this statement, the ulama, they say that we excuse one another about issues that we differ in. They say, هذا, this statement is muhmal, yani it's general. He said, if there are issues that are allowable to differ in, like ijtihad, that, for example, I come up from ruku', I put my hands on my chest, you put your hands on your side. It's not a big deal, we let it slide. We differ in that. A brother might be Maliki, I might be Hanbali. We take different issues of usul. We differ in that. We put that to the side. The issues that the ulama find fault with, كَخِلَافِ فِرْقَةِ الضَّالَةِ, as if the group that you're dealing with is of a deviated sect. This is something different. Or ashab bid'ah, or these people are people of bid'ah. It's something different. When brothers like Anwar make these statements, he's making innuendos that the people that I said were people of innovation. If they are, then it is upon brother Anwar to bring us ta'sil ilm, prove that they are upon innovation. A statement, an action, and like the brother Saeed said in this class earlier, tanzil al-hukm. How do you make that hukm specific to those people? Show everyone how to do that. Show them how you arrived at that ruling. And then if you're able to do that, then we can go back to the table and look at it again. Until then, we don't pay any mind because it is not considered knowledge-based. It's considered kalam in the wind. It just blows by. We don't even look at it. If someone didn't send this to me, I wouldn't even know about it. And when I read it, I was surprised that it came from a student of knowledge. The students that we studied with, for the most part in Mecca, we didn't move that way. Our discussions was knowledge-based. You can't make statements like that and let it, but the problem is, they know people don't know any better, so you can say whatever you want. You can say whatever you want, and the people will accept it because they believe you. They think you are telling the truth. They think you are telling the truth. Why wouldn't you tell the truth? You spent 7, 8 years studying in Medina. Why wouldn't you tell the people the truth? They don't have a reason to think that you would not be honest with them. And my only excuse that I can think of is that the brother doesn't know. He doesn't know himself. He doesn't know how to apply the ruling to specific people. It's cool, I get it. A lot of brothers don't know. Perhaps they haven't studied that, I get it. This is why it's important for the students of knowledge to stay in your lane. Speak to the level where you know and stop where your studies stop. Stop where you don't have the ability to go any further. So once again, a brother used a general statement and tried to make something applicable to us, the methodology of the Ikhwan Muslimin, and we have no affiliation with no Ikhwan Muslimin and no other sects in the religion except for the people of the Sunnah. I consider myself, him, and the brothers that are here talking, we're all considered people of the Sunnah. We go back to the Quran and the Sunnah, and this is what we want. I don't think any brother that we know that studied Islam left America to go study Islam, graduate from a university, to come back and not be on the Sunnah. According to that, I'd have been better off staying here and not studying. I would have been considered Salafi had I not gone to study. It's crazy. So lastly, we're going to mention these few issues and then we're done. As for me going to New Jersey and giving a lecture with Shadid, or Shadid was there and other than them, I was wrong for that according to them. I have the principles of the Ikhwan Muslimin according to them because of that. Cool. Did Brother Abu Hassan Malik and company, did they apply that rule in the Hassan Somali when he went to UMM, where I was the imam there? 15th Street, Hassan Somali went there and gave a lecture. Does that same rule apply for him? Does the position of Hassan al-Banna apply for him the way Anwar applied it for me? Does it apply for him? When he went there, they said, oh, brother, he went there and he clarified the haqq. Did he? He went there and gave a lecture about death. Did he speak against their alleged innovations? No. Did those brothers say anything to Hassan Somali when he went to Masjid al-Aqsa? Masjid al-Aqsa, it's not from the Salafi Masajid that they consider. He went there and gave a talk some years back. But brother, he went there to clarify the haqq. La. He went there and talked about the akhlaq of the Salaf, the mannerisms of the Salaf. Did anyone attribute the principles of the Ikhwan Muslimin to him? No, not at all. Right. So we're going to finish this up here, inshallah ta'ala. We're going to speak about justice, how the Salaf were just when they dealt with individuals. Here's a statement of Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, rahimahullah ta'ala, where he said, and it's important to understand this, a person may have with them good and evil. So he says, إِذَا اجْتَمَعَ وَإِذَا اجْتَمَعَ في الرَّجُلِ الْوَاحِدِ خَيْرٌ وَشَرٌ فُجُورٌ وَطَاعَةٌ وَمَعْصِيَةٌ وَسُنَّةٌ وَبِدْعَةٌ. He said that if one person, he had with him good, evil, he was a sinner, but he was obedient at times, and he committed sins, and he followed the sunnah, and he had some bid'ah with him. All of this was compiled in one person. So Shaykh al-Islam, he said, إِسْتَحَقَّ مَنْ وَلَاهُ مِنْ مُوَالَاتِ وَالثَّوَابِ بِقَدْرِ مَا فِيهِ مِنَ الْخَيْرِ. That this person is deserving of aid and love, that which is with him from good. And he says, وَاسْتَحَقَّ مِنَ الْمُعَادَاتِ وَالْعِقَابِ حَسَبَ مَا فِيهِ مِنَ الشَّرِّ. And this person is deserving of to be rebuked, that which is in him from evil. So it's not that this man is all evil, and it's not that this man is all good, rather half and half. Some good, some bad. This is the statement of Shaykh al-Islam. And then we're going to show you how the Salaf implemented this outside of him. He says, بِحَسْبَ مَا فِيهِ مِنَ الشَّرِّ فَيَجْتَمِعُ فِي شَخْصٍ وَاحِدٍ مُوجِبَاتَ الْإِكْرَامِ وَالْإِهَانَةِ. He said, so it has in one person, he may have things about him that are honorable, and he has things about him that are not honorable, that are not good. And then he gives an example, like a thief, a robber. A person could be a thief, but at the same time that thief can be poor. He can be a thief that's a Muslim, and he can be a poor Muslim. So he says, تُقْطَعُ يَدَهُ وَيُعْطَى مِنْ بَيْتِ الْمَالِ مَا يَكْفِيهِ وَهَذَا هُوَ الْأَصْلُ. He says, this person that stole, perhaps he may get his hand cut off by the government, not us here. We don't go around cutting people's hands off here. He may get his hand cut off for stealing, but at the same time be given wealth from Bayt al-Mal al-Muslimin. So this one person that's a thief, he's poor, perhaps they may cut his hand off, but listen, even though, hold right here, we still have some money and food for you. We still have some money and food from you, from the bank of the Muslims, even though he got his hand cut off. This is justice. This is not oppression. This is not oppression. So then Shaykh al-Islam, he says, this is the asl, this is the rule الذي اتفق عليه أهل السنة. This is what Ahlul Sunnah of the past have agreed upon. But who are different than Ahlul Sunnah when it comes to these people? Huh? If one of our brothers does one thing wrong, they're done. From the Tulab. If any student making a mistake, oh, he's done forever. He's banished. So, Shaykh al-Islam, he says the people that are not like this, وَخَالَفْهُمْ الْخَوَارِجِ. The Khawarij, this is their way. You do one thing bad, you're done forever. وَالْمُعْتَزِلَةِ. And the Mu'tazila, these people, مُقَدِّمَ الْعَقْلَ عَلَى النَّقْلِ, they take their intellects over text. Huh? And وَمَنْ وَافَقَهُمْ, whoever agrees with them. فَلَمْ يَجْعَلُوا النَّاسِ إِلَّا مُسْتَحِقًا لِلثَّوَابِ. So they make people, everyone that they roll with, these group of brothers, anyone they associate with is all good. They have nothing bad with them. And anyone that's in opposition to them, they're all evil. It's nothing good. I even heard in the lecture of Brother Abu Hassan Mali, he tried to insinuate that we were evil people. MashaAllah. Shaykh al-Islam they don't even consider some people that fell in the bid'ah to be evil. This is in books. This is in the books of the Salaf. And we're going to find that out too. Right. So now we're going to talk about the justice of the Salaf as it relates to Qatada ibn Da'ama. Anyone ever heard of Qatada? If you ever read through Ibn Kathir, you're going to see his name a lot. Qatada is a tabi. You're going to see his name a lot. Qatada ibn Da'ama. He says, it's a tabi. Shuyukh lahu, and some of his scholars was Hasan al-Basri, wa A'ta ibn Rabah, wa Jabir, wa Ibn al-Sirin. These are some of his scholars, Hasan al-Basri, and other than them, Ibn Sirin. And some of his students was like Ayyub al-Sikhtiyani. He was a student of his. Wa Shu'bah ibn Hajjaj, he was a student of his. Wa Imam al-Awza'i. All of these were students of who? Qatada ibn Da'ama. He died in the year 117 Hijri. Wa Da'ama, Qatada, he was a mufassir and a muhaddith. He was a mufassir, meaning he made tafsir al-Quran, and he was a muhaddith. He was a scholar of hadith. What is the statements of the ulama about him? He says, قال علماء عنه قال محمد ibn Sirin Qatada أحفظ الناس, that Qatada is the most memorized of the people. قال سعيد ibn Musayyib, he said ما أتاني إراقي أحفظ من Qatada. No one from Iraq came to me more knowledgeable in hadith than Qatada. قال سفيان ibn Uyayna, he says قالوا كان معمر يقول لم أرى هؤلاء أفقهوا من الزهري وقتادة وحماد. He said we don't find anyone more knowledgeable or have more knowledge of fiqh than Zuhri or Qatada or Hamad. وقال مطير الوراق كان قتادة عبد العلم. They say Qatada, he's like a slave to knowledge. وقال السلام ابن المطيع كان قتادة يختم القرآن. They say Qatada, he would finish the Quran every 7 days. وإذا جاء رمضان ختم من كل ثلاث. When Ramadan come, he would finish the Quran every 3 days. فإذا جاء عشر الأواخر, and the last 10 nights come, he will finish the Quran every night. This is Qatada ibn al-Da'am. Right. قال أحمد بن حنبل. Ahmad ibn Hanbal rahimahullah ta'ala, he said, Qatada aliman bit-tafsir. Imam Ahmad said he's a scholar of tafsir. قال سفيان الثوري وهل كان في الدنيا مثل قتادة. Sufyan al-Thawri said, is there anyone in the dunya like Qatada? Fine. What did Imam al-Dhahabi say about him in his Sirah A'lam al-Nubala? And this is important, brothers. As Shaykh Abdul Majid al-Subayyo, he used to always tell us, go back to the Tarajim of the Salaf. Go back and read about the lives of the Salaf, and then you're going to understand who the Salaf were. So you go back and you read about Qatada, who was hujjatul bil-ijma'. Imam al-Dhahabi, he says he is a hujjah, he is a proof bil-ijma', except إذا بين السماع. Yani, when he narrates hadiths, فإنه مدلس. He may skip the shaykh that he heard from. This is something that is blameworthy. If you narrate on a scholar, perhaps they don't like him, so he'll leave his name out and mention the one that came after him. Skip him from the chain. This is called tadlis. This is something that is frowned upon. And he was ma'ruf bidah. He said he is well known for this. And he says, وَكَانَ يَرَى الْقَدَرِ. And he used to practice al-qadr. He believed that he denied the qadr. He believed that Allah knew the decree. This is a bid'ah. Pay attention. This is a bid'ah. One of the tabi. Right? Like, Kalam al-Dhahabi anhu, nas'al Allah al-afu. He said, may Allah pardon him. Imam al-Dhahabi said, may Allah pardon Qatada because of that. And he says, وَمَا هَذَا فَمَا تَوَقَّفَ أَحَدٌ فِي صِدْقِهِ وَعَدَالَتِهِ وَحِفْظِهِ. He said, even with that, we don't find any of the scholars of the past saying he's not truthful, saying he's not just, saying he's not memorized. وَلَعَلَّ اللَّهَ يَعْذُرُ أَمْثَالَهُ. And he says, perhaps Allah will pardon people that are similar to him. مَنْ تَلَبَّسَ بِبِدْعَةٍ. Those who have characteristics of traits of bid'ah with them. He says, perhaps Allah will pardon them. And he says, يُرِيدُ بِهَا تَعْظِيمَ الْبَارِ. All he wanted to do was praise and magnify Allah. وَبَذْلُ وَسْعِهِ وَاللَّهُ حَكَمٌ وَعَدْلٌ. He said that Allah is justice and Allah is the one who gives the verdict. وَاللَّطِيفُ بِعِبَادِهِ. And Allah is easy with his slaves. وَلَا يُسْأَلُ عَمَّا يَفْعَلُ. And that Allah is not asked about what he does. So, ثُمَّ إِنَّ الْكَبِيرَ مِنَ أَئِمَّةِ الْعِلْمِ. For indeed he is from the biggest scholars of knowledge. إِذَا كَثَرَ صَوَابُهُ وَعُلِمَ تَحَرِّيهِ لِلْحَقِّ. He has a lot of knowledge and he was known to look for the haqq. وَاتَّسَعَ عِلْمُهُ. And his knowledge is expansive. وَظَهَرَ ذَكَاؤُهُ. And his intellect, his knowledge, his intellect was of abundance. وَعُرِفَ صَلَاحُهُ وَوَرْعُهُ. And he was known to be a good person. He was known to be piety. وَاتِّبَعُهُ وَيُكْفَرَ لَهُ زَلَلَهُ. And that may Allah forgive him and forgive him of his slippages. He said, even with that, لَا نُضَلِّلُهُ. We do not say his dog, misguided. وَنَطْرُحُهُ. And we don't throw him to the wayside. وَنَنْسِي مَحَاسَنَهُ. And don't forget the good that he has done. Na'am. This is the statement of Imam al-Dahabi. He says, Na'am. وَلَا نَقْتَدِ بِهِ فِي بِدْعَتِهِ. However, we do not follow him in his bid'ah. We don't follow him in his bid'ah. وَخَطِئِهِ. And we don't follow him in his mistake. وَنَبْجُ لَهُ التَّوْبَةِ. And we hope for him a tawbah. And we hope that he makes tawbah from that. This is the way the Salaf used to deal with individuals. Where are our brothers with people that are not even fell in the bid'ah? They haven't even fallen in it, or brothers haven't even fell in the bid'ah. But this is the way the Salaf dealt with people. Where are we from that? So with that, inshallah ta'ala, we're going to finish. I wanted to mention one last thing. Should I? No, let me stop, inshallah. I don't want to take everybody's time. What we'll do, inshallah, before we leave, because I wanted to show the traits of the Ikhwan Muslimin. I wanted to speak about Ikhwan Muslimin real quick. I'll just do it anyway. Real quick. Ikhwan Muslimin. So here's a statement of the leader of the Ikhwan Muslimin. This is what he said. Now you can look at us and see if we follow this methodology or who really follows this methodology. Hassan al-Banna, who was the leader, the founder of the Ikhwan Muslimin, he says, your da'wah, meaning he's talking to the other people from Ikhwan Muslimin. He says to his people, your da'wah and propagation of Islam is the most deserving for the people to come to, and you should not go to anyone. The da'wah of the Ikhwan is that the people must come to you and you're not allowed to go to anyone else. You can't go there, they must come to you. Right? Then he says, right, go, pay attention. You should not go to anyone. Your da'wah contains all goodness, and other than that is free from deficiencies. Then he says, our stance regarding the different types of da'wah which have emerged and oppressed in this time and caused dissension between the hearts and disrupted the people's thoughts is that we weigh it and compare it with our da'wah. Everything we look at, we compare it to the way we give da'wah. This is what the Ikhwan Muslimin says. And whatever is in accordance with our da'wah, then we welcome it. And whatever is in contrary to it, then we're free from it. Like, another thing, characteristic of the Ikhwan Muslimin, that they're hasty and excessive in their praising and dispraising others. So one of the things that they do, that one of the things that they do, that they're hasty and they're excessive in praising the people that are with them. And once you are not with them, then they are excessive in refuting those who are opposed to them. These are the characteristics of the Ikhwan Muslimin. And with that, I wanted to go into more, but there's other brothers that wanted to talk, so we're going to stop with that, inshallah. And if anyone have any other questions, we'll go at the end. We have the Q&A. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. And if I made any mistakes, if I say anything about those brothers that they come back and say it's not true, I made an error, then I own it. I'll take it back if it wasn't true. But everything I said, I believe is true. You have to prove to me what I said is not true. Wa jazakumullahu khairan, barakallahu feekum, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.